Now, in the 21st century, freedom is a set of keys.
It's a surveillance prison. It is actually a concentration camp.
I think it's all part of their plan, just to try and keep us as contained as possible.
Research the World Economic Forum. Research Klaus Schwab. It's about domination, rule control, and it will evolve into a tyranny. Reject the New World Order.
They'll have to prise my old Ford truck out of my cold dead hands.
What can you do in 15 minutes? Well, creepy local authority bureaucrats would like to see your entire existence boiled down to the duration of a quarter of an hour, with the arrival of so-called 15-minute cities.
What if we could create a new normal where we reclaim our time, our health and well-being, and our communities?
This is the idea behind the 15-minute city.
It's really just saying that every urban citizen should be able to meet their basic needs within a 15-minute walk or cycle ride from their house.
Well, Oxford has something called a 15-minute city that they want to implement.
6 new traffic filters in the city, which will make buses faster and cycling safer.
Oxford residents will be able to apply for a free permit to drive through the filters on up to 100 days a year. You will still be able to drive to every part of the city, but at certain times of the day, you may need to take a different route if you want to travel by car.
We expect these traffic filters to reduce congestion and air pollution in our city, make bus journeys faster and more reliable, and make walking and cycling safer for everyone.
Welcome to dystopia. It's absolutely terrifying.
Would I go so far to say evil? Extreme. I would say it's an extreme idea.
You will only have 15 minutes of freedom.
The Oxfordshire County Council approved plans to lock residents into one of 6 zones to save the planet from global warming. Protests against the decision are being organised to take place in February.
"15-minute cities. It's scary.
This is what we're living in. We're living under tyranny.
And we just wondered if you wanted to chat to us for a second about 15-minute cities and why you think they're a dystopian hell.
The 15-minute city is a severe limitation of human freedom. It's effectively locking people down into human settlement zones.
It's townships. It is creating townships. It's taking us back to those feudal times, where by the grace of the travelling bards that used to come to us and give us the history and the outside news. It's stopping our development as humanity.
It's undemocratic, it's tyranny, and it's an example of our globalist government following the New World Order regime, isn't it, an agenda. They want to enslave us and they want complete control. We're in a war. The higher echelons of the medical profession are liars and murderers, Murderers.
Slowly we're being having our freedoms restricted. We are having our movements surveilled, controlled. They're looking to bring in digital IDs by the end of this year. Consultation ends March. So all of this together with the 15-minute city idea that you can get everything that you need within 15 minutes of where you live. If you wrap all of that up together with the added surveillance, it's starting to look less like an environmental solution and more like a control solution.
Are you from Oxford yourself?
No, I'm from Suffolk. I'm semi-retired, so I have time to make placards and hand out light papers and leaflets and try and wake people up.
I've been deep down into the COVID scam, I can tell you.
What do you think is the connection to fascism here?
It's not Hitlerian fascism, but it's all coming from the same control idea, it's eco-left fascism. I mean, it's just criminal lunacy, the idea that we should be imprisoned in 15-minute zones and that if we go out of our zone over a certain number of times a year, that we get fined. You know, obviously it's done with your cars, but eventually you can see the direction of travel. You know, it's...
I think it's a slippery slope.
Absolutely, totally, yeah. It's so scary, so nightmarish.
Look, shrinkflation.
It is Agenda 21, it is Agenda 30, and I've been piecing it together for about 7 years, and the jigsaw just gets more and more complicated, but it all matches.
All these things are connected, so it all links together, unfortunately.
Well, everything's connected, it's all part of their agendas. If people look deeply into any of their agendas, it's all there in black and white. Very, very simple.
This is a UN agenda, it's Agenda 2030, it's from the World Economic Forum.
The New World Order is Agenda 2030, where they want us all to own nothing and be happy. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Schwab, if you're watching this, we're not having it. We are the many, they are the few.
Fuck communism! Fuck communism!
What do you think is the end goal of all of this?
Well, for them, total enslavement of humanity. For us, obviously the goal is to oust these Satanists out of positions of power.
It's a sad but wonderful journey among all these lovely people, and it's been a lovely journey, and I've met beautiful people, and that's what it's all about. Truth and love.
I think most people here seem nice, but I think we're all in bubbles at the moment online, and they've kind of fallen down some rabbit holes. I was speaking to some very nice people just 2 minutes ago, and they believe the Earth's flat. They got very offended when I called them conspiracy theories, whilst they were explaining to me a conspiracy, which I find interesting. I mean, yeah, the LTNs, they implemented it really badly, the council, really badly, and that's caused a lot of strife. And I think there's like a legitimate discussion to have there. But also, you know, it's all to do with austerity.
Fuck the right in the posse!
Funny fucker. I haven't heard many solutions from these people, you know. Like homelessness is getting worse, like you look similar age to me, we're the first generation in 100 years going to be poorer than our parents. I wish there was this kind of anger for these kind of issues that are affecting people. They're like not being able to feed their children rather than some blocks of wood in the road. Horrible people like Lawrence Fox and Katie Hopkins, Tommy Robinson, that moron Jordan Peterson, who doesn't know what he's talking about. I wish people like that had stayed out of it. You know, I wish it would stay a local issue.
I love you, Mum. I love you. Regare. That's my guy.
I mean, we're protesting for fashion.
No, we're not. We're not doing
we
it.
just want to see what's happening.
I live in Oxford, and the plan is a very bad plan. I walk, I cycle, I use my car a bit. It'll have a little bit of an impact on me personally, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because it's kind of a last straw question for me. The political class just think they can ignore us and do whatever they want. It's a regressive tax. The zero emission zone, it's a regressive tax. The cameras which allow electric cars through but not diesel and petrol cars, it's a regressive measure. People who can afford all of those things are fine. People who can't afford those things, they have to get out their car and walk. Some people have some crazy ideas here, you know, the conspiracy theorists and all that. I'm not into that. We are local people who want the opinions of Oxford residents to be taken seriously.
Do you want to live in a 15-minute prison? Because that's what's coming to you. Stand up, research, tell your MPs are going to resign. Tell everybody that's pushed the last 3 years to resign. Because when this is over, we the people want justice.
What's the end goal of 15-minute cities, Klaus?
To control all the useless eaters when Satan arrives and proclaims kingdom on the earth.
Okay, I see.
Do you eat the bugs?
I don't eat bugs, no.
Why not?
I'm vegan, actually.
I'll do the same. Research this man in front of you, Councilor. We will penetrate the fourth industrial revolution. You useless eaters are the carbon.
Your local council is being controlled. The New World Order is controlling your city, and you are just going to be guinea pigs as of next year, and then it will spread to Canterbury, London and all over the country. So everybody needs to wake up, learn the facts, unite and fight this now.
Have you got opinions on climate change? Do you think it's an emergency?
No, of course it's not. It's a bloody hoax. Climate changes. I'm 54 years old. I was around in 1976 when we had one of the hottest summers ever. It was glorious.
Climate has changed since the beginning of, since 4.5 billion years ago, and it will continue changing. It's certainly not an emergency.
You see, climate change, there is no climate emergency. The fraud of climate change is primarily being promoted to make the United Nations effectively a one-world government, tyranny.
Man couldn't change the climate even if they tried. You control people's minds. If they're afraid, they don't think. They think you'll protect them. It's been going on always. I mean, man on the moon? Hello? Think about it.
Do you think that was a hoax as well?
Well, I know it's a hoax, and you do too if you think about it. You will. And no, I'm not in that case.
So it's just about going and finding out, not mainstream media.
We're not 100% sure what the 15-minute city was, so I just asked somebody there, and what about the fact that they're holding placards saying that there's no climate emergency, when I think that actually predominantly the majority of scientists all over the world say that we are in a climate emergency. So I don't believe that. And I think a lot of people here, when they say, as soon as you start saying things like mainstream media, because that's a trigger warning for me. Because it means a lot of people are getting their research from YouTube. No offence to YouTube, I watch it all the time. But you can end up very quickly going down a rabbit hole. And one YouTuber says, you shouldn't listen to this YouTuber, you should listen to this YouTuber. And then algorithms kick in and people start, and it's not the best way to go.
Whatever the government's selling you, don't fucking buy it. Simple as that. Whatever we're told on the television, turn it 180 and you get the truth.
Well, I came out and protested in London during the COVID lockdowns, and I think the COVID lockdowns were just a blueprint and just to see how easily people would be manipulated into staying at home and being scared. And now we've gone from a COVID agenda to a climate agenda. So we're going to have climate lockdowns. We're going from, COVID scam to the climate scam, CO2.
They want control over almost every aspect of your life.
Climate lockdown could be called for. Just like a COVID lockdown, a climate lockdown.
City Council in Oxfordshire, England has approved a climate lockdown plan that will be implemented in 2024.
you must stay at home.
Lockdown was a painful and traumatic event in response to a deadly pandemic, which became fertile ground for conspiracy. Street protests took place all over the world. A nebulous movement has since grown, existing on and offline in Telegram groups and weekly meetups in parks across the country. A new frontier for this anti-lockdown movement is against potential measures to fight global warming, with climate change denial and libertarian freedom-loving mindsets being two core ingredients in this conspiracy smoothie. But the idea of a climate lockdown really took hold after a series of missteps from liberal media. As we entered lockdown in 2020, several articles were written warning that action against climate change would need to happen urgently in order to prevent a climate lockdown. These weren't proposing climate lockdowns, but laying out the steps needed to actually avoid them. Yet they were often accompanied with clickbaity headlines designed to create as much engagement as possible. This was leapt upon by a growing alternative media ecosystem of YouTubers, right-wing websites and streamers profiting from fear and paranoia. The cat was out of the bag, and the narrative of climate lockdown started to dominate the Telegram channels and offline conversations happening at meetups. Whereas conspiracies often emerged from below, this one came from above. Discontent with an out-of-touch political class is high after decades of neoliberalism and austerity, and shrewd politicians from the far right are ready to fill the void. Jordan Peterson is here to fill your gaping hole, society. And so now we're here, a furious protest against traffic filters and a couple of blocks in the road, with baffled local politicians wondering where this all came from. We went to meet one. Alex Hollingsworth is a Labour councillor here in Oxford.
How's it going? Where do you want me? Right. It's a 100-year-old concept, at least. It's an entirely innocuous one. It's very difficult to work out how it's been turned into this. It's basically all it means is don't build cities where the only way you can reach your local shops, your local pub is by car. I mean, where we're standing here in Jericho, it's got a primary school there, got a chapel there, got a school there, got a pub, the band on there, more pubs and shops up there. That's just normal neighbourhood. You know, you walk to those places if you can, you meet your friends, you meet your neighbours, you have a chat. That's what people like. So how we've ended up with this kind of bizarre notion that it's, I mean, I've heard it described as unpatriotic, as corner shops, you can't get more British than a corner shop, and yet we've got people saying they're not British, they're unpatriotic, it's some kind of foreign plot. It's very, very odd.
A lot of people that we were talking to at the protest today, they're saying that they responded to this consultation, and they're saying most people's feedback has been completely ignored, and then you went ahead with it anyway.
Well, and the County Council did do a consultation. They had open-ended questions, and that open-ended question has been distorted massively. So 7% of people just wrote support, and 93% wrote other things, which ranged from I'm completely opposed to I don't think this is quite right, you need to do this, and a whole load of other things in between. When there was an actual opinion poll, so something which wasn't a consultation but something which was a scientific study, it showed 2/3 of people in favour of things like the LTNs, 2/3 of people in favour of things like the bus filters. So when you do a consultation, you have to have it as one of a series of things you take into account, and I think that's what the County Council have done. Personally, I think they could have done their communications a bit better. I think the pandemic it was a real issue because this is a scheme that's been 5 years in development, and the pandemic knocked it off course. The anti-lockdown conspiracy theory, I think what that did was it took maybe some genuine concerns and concerns I've got some sympathy with, the surveillance state and things like that, the plethora of cameras and stuff like that. People should have concerns about privacy and about control and about state observation. Anyone who looks at what China has done with facial recognition software and things like that should be worried about what technology, when it's used the wrong way, can do. So I think when you have that, and then you have a kind of crisis like like COVID, like the coronavirus crisis, and with the lockdowns that came with it, you can see how that can be amplified and joined together. What there are people who are happy to amplify those conspiracy theories because it makes them money.
We support the LTNs, we support the big neighbourhoods. Cars are bad, get rid of the cars. We don't want them in central Oxford. So I don't really know what these people are on about. I think it's a lot of nonsense, a lot of conspiracy theory and
David Icke lizard
fuck the
people
cars.
like
Yeah.
types it.
I ride an Italian motorcycle. I've got an 1100 Moto Guzzi, California. Italian design for the American market. But hey, it's a motorcycle. It's an iron steed. This is the 21st century. This is why King Arthur rides a motorcycle and doesn't ride a horse. You know why? You can't take it on the motorway. Okay.